Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Crispy Compact Communiqué, giving you the Crispy Noodle podcast in a shortened form. But we still are going to go over sports, entertainment, and odd news and some other things as well. I'm Rich Liebig.
I'm Michael Costanzo.
And it is our job to give you the most interesting tidbits in the world of sports, entertainment, and odd news. This is the Crispy Noodle. Let us be the Crispy Noodle in your vegetarian salad of life and boring news. A lot of things to get to on this episode. Before we tackle all the things head on, Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Hanging in there. Pennsylvania's slowly reopening. I'm going to take things cautiously, though. I'm going to play things on the safe side. Don't want to risk anything. It's fine. I got plenty of video games to tide me over, plenty of Netflix to tide me over. I finished the Control DLC that I've been working on for a while. That was a lot of fun. Definitely one of those like sleeper hits from this generation of games. If you haven't played it, definitely go pick it up. It's a lot of fun. I'm trying to think, what else have I been doing? I've been watching that show You. Did I talk about that?
No.
That's creepy. So have you seen that Netflix original You?
No.
It's about a stalker and his obsession with this one particular female that he meets. But it's a very character-driven, psychology-driven show. There's a lot there to dissect. The character is so interesting, just the way his psychology works. He thinks that he imagines himself as this like hero, this heroic figure. But obviously he's a terrible person because he's a stalker and he does other nefarious things. But what's fun about the show is that everybody is just this terrible person. Like there's like no quote unquote good character. There's no hero or there's no good guy. They're all just varying degrees of terrible, awful, realistically selfish people.
So watch it.
Yeah. Exactly.
What a plug for the show.
No, but it makes it compelling, though. It's different than other shows. It's dark. It's funny. It's very, like I said, character-driven. It's fun thinking about and diving into the psychology of these characters and how dark and twisted they are. There's a lot of good stuff to unpack there.
All right, so there you go. A quick recommendation for you from Mike. I've just been staying inside and trying to be with the air conditioner because
the air conditioner.
It's been way too hot lately. I mean, we hit 90 and mid 90s on the heat index already, and it's usually that's like July,
Yeah.
Like we're a month ahead of schedule, and I don't like it.
Yeah, it's like early June, and it's hitting like the mid 90s. It's disgusting. Yeah. I try to stay inside as much as possible.
Yeah. So hence the reason why I'm in my room for this recording in my own ice box where I can control the temperature. So my mom makes a joke that you could probably hang meat in here because I like it that cold. There was actually a time when me and Rachel, we went to a beer distributor and it was before a party. So we were getting some beer for the party and it was really hot that day. And I was like, where's your chilled section? And I like bolted right for it.
Oh my God.
And I got in there and I literally turned to Rachel and I was like, there's something wrong with me, isn't there? Like, I've always liked cold weather better. So this is my scenario. So.
Well, my theory is always, you can always add layers if you're cold. But after a certain point, if you're too hot, taking layers off becomes a crime.
Yeah.
So, right. I'd rather be cold than hot.
Yeah, me too, definitely. But there you go. It's the summer. It is what it is. So there you go. That's what we've been up to in the past week. I think it's time we get to something that we do need to talk about right off the bat before we get into sports, entertainment, and odd news, which is our usual shtick that we cover here. If you're a big fan of the show, you may realize that we did not have an episode last week, and it's you know why. Everybody knows why at this point. It's all over the news. The protests that are just spilling for George Floyd and everything with Black Lives Matter, it really hit home for us.
Yeah.
I personally, I have a lot of close friends that are minorities or black, and to see how shockingly, I'm just calling for what it is. It's shockingly racist. Some people took the response to the George Floyd incident. Really kind of shocked me.
Yeah.
And it just felt that even now, but it's better now. The whole week just was very uncomfortable. And it just didn't seem right to do a comedy joking kind of podcast when there were serious topics being discussed, and protests that needed to be addressed. And I think a lot of people were just conveniently tuning them out.
Yeah.
And it struck me as very odd, and putting that in combination with the context of everything that happened with the George Floyd murder, and the response from the protests, it seemed like it didn't seem appropriate to do an episode last week. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about it, Mike, but
No, I mean, you know where I stand, and those who know me personally know where I stand. We talked briefly before we would have had a show last week, and we both agreed it doesn't feel right. We came up with the statement that I'm sure everybody saw on our various social media outlets, basically acknowledging a few key facts. That one, George Floyd was murdered. Two, it was due to systemic racism. Three, that this is still a huge issue in society, and to, try to gloss over that or to use our privilege to not acknowledge that is just as big a problem. And finally, if anybody thinks that this is controversial, or if people don't even want to take the time to think about these issues, that is part of the problem. I think more than previous times, this time is unique in that a lot more people who are not minorities are stepping up and speaking out about it, which is crucial, because before people could conveniently say, well, it doesn't impact me. It's never touched my life, so I don't need to talk about it. I don't need to be involved in it. And I think that it's different this time. There's a lot of talk and continue talk, which is essential, because if we want to end this sort of injustice, this sort of inequality, it needs to be a continuous conversation, a tough conversation.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy that we didn't put out a show, because it would not have been right. And obviously, now that we're taking the time to talk about it, obviously it's still on our minds. It's still, as it should be. As a nation, we need to acknowledge how our systems and institutions are unjustly, negatively impacting lots of minority groups. We haven't done a good job of calling attention to that as a country.
No.
And so we're doing our small part. We're not a big project here, but we felt it was our responsibility to say something.
Yeah. And I think there's a great sentiment that came out of a YouTube video called Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man by former Eagle Emmanuel Acho, who I actually met. He's a very cool guy.
Seems like a very cool guy.
So anytime that I can, plug somebody that I actually met in person, I want to, he really was a very cool guy, very chill guy. He didn't let the stardom of being an NFL player get to him or anything. He's very down to earth, very cool guy, and he deserves every bit of success coming his way, because
absolutely
this series took off in the wake of the George Floyd protest. But to go back to what I want to go with, he had a great theme. It didn't come out. He didn't have the actual quote like this, but the overall theme in part of his discussion was, it's not it's not enough now to just be not a racist.
Right.
That bar is way too low. The
Yeah.
bar has to be, we need to be completely 100% anti-racist at all times, whether it's just a casual comment you hear from, it could be your family, something that somebody just casually throws out there. We need to be accountable, and be like, hey, that's not cool. We can be better than that.
We need to start calling it out where we see it.
Right.
It's the silence is just as bad. Silence can be deafening, and when large groups of people choose not to speak up, that's when minority groups really suffer, because they, it's times like this where we all need to work together to raise the voices of those whose voices have historically been oppressed.
Yep. So we just want to address that issue, and it's very important to us, and we stand in solidarity with Black Lives Matter and the protests, and we changed our profile picture to represent that as well. So they're very small steps, but they're the ones that we felt were very appropriate, and the ones that we could do at this important juncture.
Well, this is
history right now.
Yeah, and it is a moment in history. It is a crossroads, and we have to decide whether we're going to be on the right side of it or the wrong side of it. And everybody has to make that decision for themselves. Do you want to be on the right side of history, or do you want to be on the wrong side of history? Because this is a right and wrong thing. It's not political. It's not one side versus the other. It's racists and not racists.
Yeah.
So either get on board or get out.
That is, yeah. I remember seeing a tweet that said, "Why is fighting racism a controversial topic?"
And that was the point of my personal post on Facebook. It's like, if you think this is controversial, we've always strayed from topics like this.
Yeah, we usually don't get into politics.
Admittedly, and this isn't politics. That's the thing. People try to make it about politics. This isn't politics. This is as political as we're ever going to get on the show, but it's important right now. But that's the point, is it's not political. It's racism and not racism. That's the issue here, and it really says something about how seriously we're taking this, for a couple of facts. One, we've never missed a show, ever.
Mm-mm.
This is the first time in more than 7 years we've ever canceled a show. Two, we've never, like we've said, we've never gotten political. This is as political as we're going to get, but it's important, and we need to keep the conversation going. And we're going to keep the conversation going. And then I just want to say real quickly that everybody in their own way, not everybody has a platform like this. Our platform is very small, admittedly, but in your own way, you have to find ways to be active against racism. So whether that's talking to the people in your personal lives, educating others, if it's sharing, social media posts, if it's donating, if it's volunteering, if it's using whatever platform you have to speak up, protesting, do whatever you can in your own individual capacity to actively resist it, and try to give back in some way. This is how we're doing it.
Yep. It's once again, it's not enough to just be not a racist. This needs to be a turning point where we are all committed to being 100% anti-racist, period.
Yeah. So there you go. We're now an anti-racist podcast. Officially. We've always been. But
this is just trying to be 100% actively involved.
It's the most real and upfront we've ever been, probably.
Yeah. And it's unprecedented time, so it calls for unprecedented measures.
Yeah.
So
I like it. It's important.
Yeah.
It needs to happen.
Yep.
But speaking of those issues.
Yeah, speaking of issues.
So
we're just going to tumble right from one thing to another.
Well, here's the thing, because these issues do spill into the areas of which our show does normally cover.
Sports and politics, sometimes they intersect.
Yeah, you can't necessarily separate these things. Everything likes to intermingle. And we found these issues coming, once again, rearing its head in the NFL. Drew Brees, of course, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, really made a major
Major stink.
a major stink here by coming out and saying that he would never agree with anyone disrespecting the flag, of course, referencing to the Colin Kaepernick's demonstration several years ago of kneeling during the national anthem at the beginning of football games. Of course, he was, talking about the current issues going on, and he brought that issue back into the limelight. Of course, people rightfully jumped all over him. Malcolm Jenkins being one, former Eagle, former Saint, now current Saint, calling out Drew Brees in a highly critical video. I mean, he was not pulling any punches. I mean, I was very proud of Malcolm Jenkins there to step up the way that he did and call out Drew Brees the way that he did. He was not having any of it. So that's awesome on him. And Brees, I don't know whether it was because of the pressure or whether, he actually means it, but he did walk back those statements. He apologized, of course.
Yeah, I think he realized. I think he realized he had to, especially when he realizes the first time he lines up, to drop back for a pass. The offensive line may not be 100% committed to his safety.
Yeah, I would like to think that he did it because it was the right thing to do. Regardless, he did apologize, but that's not the end of the saga. No, of course, because this is where politics get involved. Certain politicians like to just stick their nose into things, and Trump, of course, said that Brees shouldn't have apologized, that Brees should have stood by his original statement, and then Brees, of course, addressed a message back to Trump saying that the demonstrations were never about the flag and that everyone needed to stop using it to distract from the real issues. This quickly spiraled even further. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell made a video apologizing for not listening to their players back when Colin Kaepernick originally demonstrated. And that Roger Goodell, speaking on behalf of the NFL, said that he apologized and that he explicitly said that they support the Black Lives Matter movement, which is a huge thing for the NFL to say, because previously the NFL had been not supportive.
Yeah.
Then, of course, go ahead.
Yeah, they were just trying to be very impartial.
They were trying to be very diplomatic about it, but it was clear that the majority of their player base, their employees, were, not happy with the way things were, and the NFL just refused to listen, refused to take action. So the NFL, Roger Goodell, apologized for that. Trump then, of course, responded back, suggesting that Roger Goodell supports kneeling during the national anthem then, if he supports the Black Lives Matter movement. You can see how this became very quickly a whirlwind of back and forth and people getting involved in politics and politics getting involved in sports. It was just very disappointing to see this whole thing come up again, because it should be a non-issue. It should be, because what Drew Brees said in his response back to Trump was exactly right, is that it's not about the flag. It's not about the flag at all. So, I hate to have to keep rehashing this for people that weren't there, when we did it way back when, but Colin Kaepernick is not protesting the flag or the national anthem. He's demonstrating, he's saying that while he respects the United States, he can't stand for a symbol that doesn't stand for him, right? Because there are systemic and institutional failures, and if it's not going to stand for him, he can't stand for it, right? So that's not a disparaging remark against the flag or what it stands for. He's saying that right now, America is hurting, and his community is hurting, and so he's taking a knee. That's what a knee is. Think about what taking a knee means, which, by the way, he got that concept from a Green Beret. Yep. He said, how can I demonstrate respectfully? And the Green Beret said, kneel. What do soldiers do when one of their own is injured? They kneel. What do NFL players do when somebody gets injured on the field? They kneel. We kneel to be knighted. We genuflect in mass. We kneel to propose marriage. We kneel as a sign of respect. Kneeling is the exact opposite of disrespect. The very gesture historically shows respect. I'm getting heated now because it's ridiculous.
It is.
I'm gonna be upfront. It's ridiculous that people take this much offense to it because, one, it's within his First Amendment rights. Two, it is a symbol of respect. And three, what he's demonstrating for is, as we can see right now, clearly incredibly relevant and very important and very much affecting millions of people across the nation.
Colin Kaepernick was right out front, and he was trying to bring this to the national attention, but unfortunately, it took an actual visual of seeing a black man getting killed for this to finally hit home with people. But yeah, Kaepernick was doing this, but way before any of this was a legit movement and anything like that. And I find it still very bizarre. I don't care what Brees says after the fact. He may be apologizing. He may be walking back his comments. I can't believe a guy like Drew Brees can't read the room, can't read the situation that the country is in right now and makes a comment like that. And two, makes just such a blanket negative comment about somebody that is in his peer group of fellow quarterbacks. I know Kaepernick hasn't played an NFL season since his time with the 49ers, but he's still within this era of quarterbacks. And he just outright just came with a hammer and knocked him down with that quote.
Yeah. Threw him and all the other demonstrators under the bus.
Yeah. It's really bizarre to hear that coming out of Drew Brees. I was really shocked.
It was very short-sighted.
And I know he's trying to walk it back, and I know he's trying to be apologetic, but that was a tough one to hear. And honestly, it gives me another reason to root against the Saints this year. Sorry, you guys have lost multiple playoff games, and I'm sick and tired of hearing the fans bitch and whine over it. So, look, Saints, go ahead. Get out of here.
To bring it back to football, I agree. It's just one more reason I hate that terrible organization. Yeah. Drew Brees, I don't know. It was very disappointing and very upsetting to hear him say those things. And really to reignite a debate that should not be a debate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he created this whole firestorm, and I know now he's trying to make amends for it, and that's admirable, but the damage is already done.
Yeah.
Once a prolific player says that and it's out there, then, you saw the way President Trump sunk into that, and that a lot of people are also going to latch onto that, and it's just one more step backwards for the entire movement. So I hope that Drew Brees, puts his money where his mouth is and tries to make amends for it. I know the NFL is. The NFL pledged recently to $250 million over 10 years to fight racial injustice. They also plan to leverage NFL Films and NFL Network, and as well as their other media outlets, to raise awareness. This is an expansion of the original $100 million deal from 2017. And I got this from the app, The Score. They said, since that deal, the NFL has donated $44 million to fund social justice work. They awarded grants to 20 organizations and funded 350 grassroots programs. So, I really like to see that the NFL is stepping up in a big way. Hopefully they can continue that and, maybe affect some change.
I just realized there's another team that falls into all this hate mixture together.
Oh, God.
Because remember when this first started? Remember when Colin Kaepernick first took the knee and we had the whole backlash after that? One of the top people that was critical of Colin Kaepernick was Jerry Jones.
Yeah. Does that surprise you? Does that surprise you, really?
How does Jerry Jones move into the 2020 NFL season? Because he had that mandate. He said, if anybody takes a knee, I'm cutting you.
Well, there might be a whole hell of a lot of Dallas Cowboys players hitting the free agency market. That's for sure.
Yeah. Is he willing to do it in the 2020 season? I don't know.
You know what?
That would be interesting.
The way that I see it, if he does it, great, because then there's one more racist we know of that we can just, you know, write off. We can just completely ignore and just write him off as a terrible. He already is a terrible human being, but even more so.
Yeah. Let him just go back to his glory hole days.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, all right. So there you go. That is all of the protest Black Lives Matter talk I think we're gonna cover for right now. I know that's literally the first half of the show. We tackled it head on, but I think we did a pretty good job with it.
I think so.
And you know, it is what it is. We said our piece. But now finally, I think it's time that we can take off that cap and put back our regular cap on and go over some weird and odd and interesting news to talk about in the world of sports, entertainment, and odd news. We'll still stay in the sports realm, but we're going to switch sports. We're going to talk about baseball because I can't believe what is happening with Major League Baseball right now.
Yeah, tell me what's going on.
Literally, Major League Baseball is about to cannibalize itself over money. And I'm not naive. Baseball is a business. Don't get me wrong. Of course, people are going to argue over money and everything like that. But the stakes are getting higher and higher and higher the longer this drags out. So because of coronavirus, we had all the sports leagues stop for the last 3 months. Mm-hmm. And during that time, baseball never got off the ground for this year. They had spring training. That was it. Okay. With that in mind, since then, the National Hockey League has actually, out of the 3 leagues, have moved the swiftest into restarting the season. They're already at phase 4. They just have to decide on host cities, on who's going to host the hockey games, and they're going to be back at it pretty soon. After that, basketball. Basketball took a little bit more time to figure it out. They had a little bit of an awkward situation where they had like 8 games left in the season, so they weren't sure whether or not should we resume from that point or do we jump right into the playoffs, save some time. They came up with a system, and they're working on the actual details of it, but they got a plan in place. They're ready to go. And then you look at baseball, and you just see nothing but continuous squabbling back and forth from the owners to the Players Association, back and forth, back and forth. The goal was to start. Remember this? The goal was to start 4th of July weekend. That ain't happening now.
No,
they've taken way too long to figure this out. And the worst part is it seems there is no end in sight between the owners and the Players Association. And it troubles me because a part of me does like baseball. I played Little League. I was, there is a soft spot in my heart for baseball. But I'm going to tell you this right now. If hockey comes back, if basketball comes back, and baseball puts up 0 games in 2020, that could be the death knell for baseball. Baseball
really?
I'm telling you, I'm
the
usually
death knell.
I am usually not one to push the panic button, but I am pushing the panic button if this happens.
Wow.
I see it with my nephews. My nephews, they don't like baseball. They love basketball and football.
It's a boring sport. It doesn't televise well. It doesn't.
It's not as, all right, I know Mike jumps right to boring, but it's not as
engaging.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah. Because there's long points where there's pitching, there's pitching changes and you got to switch the sides and the innings, and yeah, it drags out a little bit. So you already have that disadvantage going for you. It's statistics. The younger generation has not been supportive of baseball compared to the other sports.
Yeah.
And now not only are you talking about a shutdown of baseball completely, where there could possibly be no season this year if they don't get this straight.
I mean, they're at
But
the midway point and they haven't done anything yet. So,
but not even. But here's the thing that really gets me: they can't even spin this correctly. That's the fourth thing. This is literally over money. There
yeah.
is no way to spin this. Like if this was because the coronavirus went longer, like let's say the coronavirus literally went from March to September. Okay, maybe you can go with the goodwill that we were trying to look out for player safety. We didn't want people to come back. It wasn't a the right thing to do.
Well,
You could
they could still make that spin.
not
But they,
really when hockey and baseball are itching to come back.
well, I mean, they could say because coronavirus is still a thing. But you're right. The other sports, since they're coming back, it makes it a bit tougher, peer pressure wise.
It's more than tough. It makes them look embarrassing.
Yeah.
Think about it. Basketball right now, as of this recording, basketball is on a closer track to come back than baseball. Does that make sense? In the era of the coronavirus, where you don't want as much like touching and people hoarding together.
That's true. Yeah, because basketball is a much more contact-oriented sport than either hockey or baseball. Baseball is the easiest one to bring back in terms of keeping players safe. They don't touch each other. They don't come near each other, like hardly ever, you know?
And literally the reason why they can't figure this out is money. It's not a good look. It's
baseball is, people like to think football is the greediest sport, but it's not. Baseball is the greediest sport because those contracts don't make any sense whatsoever. I mean, what is it, like 11 years for $330 million? Oh,
yeah, that's Bryce Harper.
Get out of here.
Good job, Mike.
Yeah.
You remember that
because
one.
It's absurd. It is absolutely ridiculous. And there's like no trade clauses, and the players end up owning the team when they retire, and they can do whatever they want. They can steal seats out of the stadium. It's like they get carte blanche with, whatever they want to do with these contracts. So I'll just say this. If I work 20 hours in a week, I get paid for 20 hours. If they play 80 games, guess how many games they should get paid for?
What, half of their contract?
I mean, that's the issue, isn't it? They want full salary for half the season.
Yeah.
I mean, Rich, if you work 20 hours, how many hours do you get paid for?
Yeah, I get paid for 20. Yeah, I agree with you. But at some point, something needs to give. You're now jeopardizing the future of this sport. I know I sound like overly dramatic, but
you sound like me.
Yeah, usually, yeah, right.
Usually, I'm like, hit the panic button.
Yeah, no, I have seen the decline in the enthusiasm for baseball the last couple of years. It's real, and now you're going to essentially throw a Molotov cocktail on this with an embargo on baseball because of this. It's not good. It puts baseball in a negative light. Just everybody looks bad in this. Yeah. So I don't care what has to get done. Just somebody has to just stand up in one of these meetings and just say, do we want to exist as an actual sports entity or not? Because I'm telling you, this is like when they had the strike in the 90s. Baseball was going straight down the toilet. People loved watching Michael Jordan a lot more. People loved watching football a lot more. And it wasn't until they got the home run madness in the mid 90s and late 90s that baseball made a resurgence back. We're going to be entering that dip. We're actually already in that dip, to be honest with you, because
I was going to say, I feel like baseball
is already there.
The least popular of the big four sports.
Well, if there's no baseball in 2020 because of this money dispute, it's going to be there. It's going to be there. Basketball is way too popular among the younger generation. Football is football, and even hockey fans if you are a
They're
true hockey fan,
diehard.
you're
They're
diehard. So
Yeah.
that's a good segment to have.
There's a lot of fair weather baseball fans, myself included. I readily admit it.
Also a lot of the hardcore baseball fans, they're
Not
old.
really hard. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They might not be.
Well,
might not be lasting long.
Here's the real issue with baseball. It hasn't evolved ever. Like, they're still swinging sticks at balls. Like, it hasn't been brought into the 20th century, let alone the 21st century. It takes them forever to enact rules changes. Every single time a rule does change, they're like, oh, the integrity of the game. Okay, so you have a sport that refuses to change. It's geared towards sitting still for like 4 hours straight, and there's like hardly any action. And then you're going to have the squabble over money. Let them kill themselves. Because they did look, they made their bed, now they got to lie in it.
But I like sitting around for 4 hours.
So do I. But not when it's on TV. When I'm there, it's fine. You know, but my point is that they brought it on themselves by refusing to change, by not keeping up with the times, by not carving out, a dedicated fan base other than the old people.
And now you're talking about a prospect of a completely missed 2020 year. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
That is a death knell.
I don't think they're in that dire of a situation, but it's definitely going to hurt them. If they miss an entire season, it's really going to hurt them. Yep. The owners are thinking of it like, well, I have my money, so who cares? You know, that's why they're not bothered by this at all. I think, though, that at some point, this is what happens when you let players get too much power. Like, NFL players don't have any power, but baseball players have way too much power, demanding fully guaranteed $330 million contracts. Yeah. Guy's going to be washed up in the next 3 years. You watch. It's going to happen. I forgot where I was going with that. I was just trashing on Bryce Harper.
Yeah, you were. I knew that's what that was.
Now, the point that I'm making is that yes, they should only get paid for half the season if they're only playing half the season.
Well, at some point they just need to come to a compromise. This needs to be settled. I don't care who does it. I don't care what the final results are. Just somebody figure it out and get them to start playing, because I think it's worst case scenario if there's no games in 2020.
Well, Rich is all doom and gloom with baseball. Apparently, we won't have that to look forward to, but we do have something to look forward to later this year in the world of entertainment, though. One of our favorite video game brands, Sony PlayStation, finally revealed the PlayStation 5 in a big hour-plus long media event that they had Thursday this past week. I watched the whole thing because I'm a big PlayStation fan, so I had to, see it for myself with my own two eyes, what they had to offer. We knew that we were going to get a look at games. We knew that we were going to get a look at the system, but we didn't know exactly what they were going to announce. But boy, I'm torn on the presentation. So first, let's go over some of the things they talked about. They announced some big exclusive games. They came out guns blazing with a brand new Spider-Man right off the bat. That was really surprising considering Spider-Man just came out, I think it was 2-3 years ago, and now right away Insomniac is coming out with the next Spider-Man game. That was really exciting for a couple of reasons. One, that they got back up so quickly after the last one. And two, they're focusing on Miles Morales, who is another Spider-Man in the Spider-Man universe. Has some unique abilities, can turn invisible, can shock people. He has like electric powers. So some new gameplay elements. Are we going to be playing as Miles and as Peter Parker? Where does the story go from the last one? I'm really excited to see how Insomniac uses the new technology for a game that's all about speed, swinging through the streets, really fluid combat. The new hardware is going to make it look amazing. But they also announced, which I'm really excited about, the sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn, Horizon 2 Forbidden West. Rich, I don't think you ever played Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, I missed the boat on that one.
Oh, man, it's fantastic. I'll have to lend it to you. It's about a fallen civilization in which So society advances so far that they create machine animals, and then society falls. But then this like primitive group of humans, like they somehow survive this apocalyptic event, and they view all of our old abandoned cities and machines as like, mythical creatures that the old ones left behind when they left the ruins of their society. So you play as like this almost tribal character fighting these giant machine dinosaurs and animals. It's a very unique concept. One of the games that really pushed the PlayStation 4 to its limits, so I can't wait to see how it pushes the PlayStation 5. That was widely rumored to make an appearance, so that was expected, but still welcome. It's one of those games that is Sony views as a system seller. It's going to push consoles because it's going to be breathtakingly beautiful. It's open world. It's a lot of share-worthy moments, flashy combat, picturesque settings. So it's, it markets itself. So a lot of really big, awesome games that they announced. The one surprising game that they announced, or rather one of their partners announced, was Rockstar announced Grand Theft Auto 5 again.
Again!
For
Yay!
the third time. So, Rich, as a big Grand Theft Auto 5 fan, because I know you weren't a big fan of Horizon and you played Spider-Man, but I know you're a huge fan of Grand Theft Auto. Are you going to buy Grand Theft Auto 5 a third time?
Boy.
Are you the target audience for Grand Theft Auto 5? I'm really struggling to understand this particular move.
So here's the thing. It's all based around Grand Theft Auto Online,
yes,
which is the multiplayer component to Grand Theft Auto 5. And that universe that they've created is so awesome. There's so many things to do. There's so many custom missions. There's actually working like casinos and stuff. I love it.
But is it another $60 game on a third console? This is what I understand.
Yeah.
It's not a re-release, because re-releases are all the rage. This is a re-release.
Yeah, this is the second or third. This is the third re-release.
This is the third time they've...
This originally came out on PlayStation 3.
This is the third time in 7 years they've made the same game.
Yeah. It does seem to be pushing the envelope in terms of how much you're willing to give money to Rockstar. Honestly, I think it comes down to whether or not you're going to upgrade all of your gear to go to PlayStation 5 right away.
But here's the thing. PlayStation 5 is backwards compatible. You can take your PlayStation 4 copy and play it on PlayStation 5. Like, there's no reason for this game to exist.
Yes.
They say expanded and enhanced, but they don't say how.
Right. I would need some more details on the specifics of that.
You're going to buy this game again, aren't you?
I don't know. It depends. It depends on what exactly the enhancements are and stuff. Also, I'm usually one of those people, I don't grab the newest console right away.
That's true. You don't.
I don't. I usually wait at least 6 months, something like that, because sometimes the initial console release, the kinks aren't worked out. I remember, wasn't that the case with PlayStation 3?
It's the case with literally every technology release ever.
But PlayStation 3 was really notorious. Like, I think it bricked or something, like the first couple ones.
They had issues. Well, the most notorious one is the Xbox 360 Red Ring of Death.
Yeah,
that was the real big one.
Yeah.
But
just as a rule of thumb, I never jump right ahead into it. I at least you got to give it some sort of time so that people can figure out bugs, crashes, stuff, because they test as much as they can, but it's nothing until you actually release it into the public and actual human beings mess up the UI or download a file they're not supposed to, or something goes haywire, an option they're not supposed to put on, they put on. So I usually give it some time. So at least for the start, no, I'm not going to get PlayStation 5 or Grand Theft Auto 5, the re-release or whatever. But if it comes down to a point where I eventually do get a PlayStation 5 and I want to switch everything to it, like maybe I'll be like, okay, I don't need the PlayStation 4 anymore. I sell that back. Oh, all right, maybe I'll do the upgrade and then grab the super duper Magna Carta
super duper Magna Carta
edition of Grand Theft Auto 5. Yeah, whatever this turns out to be.
The Magna Carta edition.
That's what I'm going with. I pulled that out of my ass.
Yeah, you did.
Put that. I want that to. Can we send this to Rockstar? I want that to be the name.
The Magna Carta edition
of the specific PlayStation 5 version of Grand Theft Auto 5.
I like it.
Super duper Magna Carta Grand Theft Auto 5.
I wasn't going to buy it, but if it comes branded as the Magna Carta edition, I will probably buy it.
There you go. You're welcome, Rockstar. I just gave you free idea right there.
So yeah, Grand Theft Auto 5 again. So I don't know. I have to see what the expansions and enhancements are exactly. It says new features and content. So it's a little nebulous. I will say this is pretty cool though, that they realize how ridiculous this is. So they're trying to convince people to jump into it because they're giving Grand Theft Auto Online out for free to PlayStation 5 players during the first 3 months after Grand Theft Auto 5 release. So you can play the online version of the game for free on PlayStation 5 for the first 3 months.
I guess that's if you don't have PlayStation Plus.
Actually, let me see here. It doesn't say if it requires PlayStation Plus, but I would assume you would need PlayStation Plus to play online.
I think that's what it is. I think if you don't have PlayStation Plus, I think that's what it is.
They'll have to announce more on it because right now it doesn't say in the little press release, but I thought that was interesting. They're also giving out $1 million every month to PlayStation 4 owners if they play every month until Grand Theft Auto 5 on PlayStation 5 releases. So Rich is like,
yep, that's me.
Rich knows that he's going to be, by the time he gets Grand Theft Auto 5 for the third time, he'll have all the money.
Give me that super duper Magna Carta edition.
Super duper Magna Carta edition.
Yeah, that's what we're going to call it.
So games aside, there was also a whole bunch of weird, quirky stuff that was, Sony leans into that hard all the time, the weird and quirky stuff. And I love them for that. They're unapologetically weird. They have a game called Bug Snacks, where you eat bugs that look like snacks and then you turn into a snack. They have a whole bunch of more surreal indie type games. They have smaller, more intimate style games. They have a lot of flashy new stuff. I was really excited and surprised that a lot of developers chose to reveal their next games during the PlayStation event. And that speaks volumes to how well the PlayStation 4 did. That most of the developers are like, yes, we want to use this event to showcase our new games. That's got to be a big loss. Not a big loss, but it's got to be, a knock against Microsoft that a lot of developers chose the PlayStation event to reveal their new stuff.
Yeah. I also liked that apparently there's a theme of Groundhog Day coming back. Apparently people love Groundhog Day because there are 2 games that involve a continuous time loop that got revealed. So
Deathloop, I think, was one of them, right?
Yeah, Deathloop looks actually interesting. It reminds me of BioShock a little bit. The actual gameplay.
Because a lot of abilities and stuff.
Yeah, it involves weapons and abilities, and they're both hands. So yeah, I'm interested to see where that one goes. And then there was another one,
Returnal from Housemarque. Is that the one where you die and come back, Yeah, the name is weird. Returnal, like eternal, but returnal. It's not the best name, but it seemed very interesting. What?
Look, we're coming up with super duper Magna Carta Grand Theft Auto 5.
Right,
all right.
I guess we can't be picky at this point. Super duper Magna Carta 5.
All right, we're doing the best we can over here.
That's true. That is. Yeah, there was a lot of themes of time travel. Even Grand Theft Auto 5 is time traveling, bringing something back from the past. Judging that up again. Yeah, for the third time. So I really like that. I mean, they jam-packed a lot of games in there, way too many to go over individually. It was a great
Yeah.
combination of big exclusives, small indies, third-party support, and remakes. They had a few remakes like Grand Theft Auto 5, Demon's Souls. So I thought it was a very well-balanced showcase in terms of the games that they were showing off. But let's dive into the real point of this whole thing, was to finally get our eyes on the console itself. They revealed two versions. One has the disk drive. One is all digital. And have you seen the pictures of them?
Yep.
It looks like some sort of alien spaceship. It's like two white like planks with this weird like black thing in the middle. It's like a reverse Oreo kind of.
No. It's not a spaceship. The best similarity I saw was it looks like your home internet router. It really does.
Yes, it does. That is exactly what it looks like. It looks like, yeah, like a way too edgy version of a home internet router.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I take that to mean you're not a huge fan of it.
It's all right. I wouldn't the actual design I wouldn't say is revolutionary or anything, but it's, I get it. It matches the flow of Sony and everything. So
it matches the controller. I like the two-tone design. It's better than just a giant black box.
Yeah. This is better than the Microsoft one that they're doing.
Look, I'll take something that looks like a router over something that looks like a fridge.
Yeah.
Okay, because like if I want a desktop PC, I'll just buy a desktop PC. It might be a little too out there, but it's sleek. It's different. You got to give it props for being different. And they're going in a really radical new direction. It's fun. It's bold. It's striking. I'm very interested to see, the actual dimensions of it, because we got a brief shot of it, in the trailer. We don't know how big it is, how loud it is, how hefty it is. The one thing that I do want to point out, though, and I don't know what the buzz online has been yet, but you notice we haven't talked about a price yet.
Yeah,
Sony didn't mention a price, neither has Microsoft. And Sony announced two versions of the console, and this is what I'm thinking. 4 months from release, neither console manufacturer has announced a price, and Sony hits them with two versions of the console. These three things, to me, point to the fact that this is going to be a very expensive system.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're both trying to hold out for the other one to announce first, because they want that company to get the flack. Yep. Microsoft is waiting for Sony to say the magic, 500 plus, and Sony's waiting for Microsoft to say 500 plus. And the fact that there's two versions leads me to believe that the one with the disk drive is going to be prohibitively expensive, and that they have the digital version in order to soften the blow. They're like, hey, look, PlayStation 5, $600, but wait, if you go digital only, it's $450. And everyone's like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm expecting it to be very expensive.
Yeah, the disk drive one will start out at like 800, and then Xbox will be like, oh, 600, ours is better, and then you have the digital one. Oh no, it's 500. Haha. So yeah,
so you're definitely saying 800, or are you just being?
I don't know.
You're just exaggerating.
Yeah.
Because it has,
and then wait until there's the super duper Magna Carta PlayStation 5. Exactly. Wow.
Exactly.
There you go. It's whoa! I gotta get that one.
That one's gonna be $1,000.
10 million teraflops.
10 million. Oh God!
It is in that one.
Teraflops are out of control.
That's why it's super duper.
That's why it's super duper. But I gotta say though, I'm very excited. I'm really looking forward to the new consoles. It's great to finally have an image of the box.
Yeah.
And to know that it's right around the corner, because unlike you, I do like to get my consoles right away because I don't know, I'm weird and I'm a glutton for punishment.
Yeah,
so
we all got our things.
I think it's also cool that Sony announced new headphones and a media remote and a docking station for the controllers. So they made a lot of cool hardware announcements, but no details yet on release date or price.
Yeah.
I'm expecting the worst.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Speaking of expecting the worst,
There
are
you
you
go.
ready to get into some odd news?
Let's do it.
Yeah, we haven't done some odd news in a while, so I figured when this story came up from Florida, we at least had to mention it. So, Mike, it is a Florida story.
Who is this effing guy in Florida? It's Florida, and they're crazy.
There you go.
So where we heading to in Florida? What's going on? Why is Florida the way they are? That's what I want to know.
It's Florida, man. Just don't question it.
Don't question it.
Yep. And it's a food story. Poor food.
Okay. Poor food.
I always feel bad when food gets involved in this. You know, it's like the poor food didn't want to be a part of this story.
The poor food didn't want to be a part of this story. Okay.
Yep, but they are. So according to police, 47-year-old Tanya Cordero was arrested Monday evening following a confrontation with her boyfriend in a Largo mobile home. Cordero and the 39-year-old victim have 4 children, though a grandmother has custody of all the kids. So just FYI, this is the kind of person we're dealing with here.
Okay.
The confrontation between Cordero and the boyfriend was touched off when Cordero became upset when the man suddenly closed a window.
What?
How dare you?
Wait, so he closed the window and it sparked some sort of
This epic fight, yeah.
Okay.
So that was the start.
Okay.
How dare you close a window?
No, hold on. It definitely wasn't the window. There was definitely something brewing under the surface. It's never just the window. The window was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Well, then that's it, because
I find it hard to believe that he closed the window and she was just like, my window!
I don't know. That's what it says here in the police report. Literally, the start of the fight was the man closed the window.
Okay, sure. Okay. They were happy. There were rainbows and kittens and flowers and sunshine. He closed the window. Boom!
Closed the window.
It cast the entire room into darkness, and there were thunderclouds and a crash of lightning. And
yep. You did what? Bam! That was it.
So
180.
He closed the window.
Yes.
And caused all this disarray.
Yeah.
And what happened next?
Okay, so Cordero started yelling at him.
Okay.
Just
viciously. Well, close the window, Rich.
Yep.
Close the window.
And then that's when she slapped him and then grabbed 4 hamburgers and smashed them all in his face.
All 4?
I want to know, how did you... She must have, like, WNBA hands to get 4 of them. That's a lot of meat.
Hold on. So you're thinking that she did all 4 at once. So she got 2 in each hand and she's like, boom.
Because it doesn't say she threw them. It doesn't say in the police report that she threw them.
Because, yeah, in my mind, what I'm thinking is like they have a plate of hamburgers, right?
Oh, do you think she got the plate and
maybe either did the plate or she just takes one at one at a time and just smashes them in his face. You know, I don't know if she's grabbing all 4 because that seems excessive.
It's a lot. It's a lot of meat to throw at a guy.
A lot of meat. Now, wait, were they fully? When you say hamburgers,
yes.
Is this bun, cheese, lettuce, tomato the works? So like fully, constructed hamburger sandwiches, or were they just patties, or were they frozen? Were they cooked? Like, I need to know specifics here. I need details.
Unfortunately, they don't go into specific details.
Damn.
But
these are the questions, though, that need to be
there is one more tidbit I want to get into.
Okay.
So at that point, when the smashing of the hamburgers happened, at that point, somebody called 911 because police arrived at the scene.
Well, there were hamburgers being wasted.
Yes. So, yeah. Innocent hamburger meat. How dare you?
Yeah.
That's when the police showed up. And this part is in the notes. So this happened.
Okay.
Cops confirmed that the hamburgers were being thrown at him because upon investigation, police noted there were still chunks of hamburgers in both of his ears.
What?
How does that happen?
My God, this was really violent to get hamburger in the ear.
In the ear.
So she definitely wasn't throwing them. You can't throw a hamburger forcefully enough to get chunks stuck in the ear. That means that the hamburger had to, one, fall apart, and that hit the head with such velocity that part of it got stuck in the ear. You know, I think what she did was she grabbed one in each hand and boxed his ears like that.
Like Three Stooges?
Like, bop. And then grabbed two more and bopped them again. It's a double bop.
Why I oughta? Just total. Yeah, maybe she's a big Three Stooges fan. That would make sense.
Yeah, so I think this lens supports my theory that she was like shoving them in his face like one after another, and not just like, I don't know. It's very bizarre to me. Both ears.
Yeah. I don't think we've ever had an odd news story where we've had inspections of the victim's ears. That's really specific.
Unless there was like so much, it was like visible. They didn't need to like really inspect it.
How much meat that's gotta be a nice chunk of burger.
I don't know.
Also, how did like that start? Like, did the victim be like, I can't hear you. What are you saying? What?
It's like, oh wait, I have a piece of hamburger in my ear. So I'm really thinking through this though.
Yes.
Because if she did smash him in the side of the head, the most logical way to do that is to, well, no. How do you think she's holding it? You think she's holding it like this? Or do you think she's holding it like the side of the sandwich, like that?
I was just
Or do you think she's holding it like this? And this is like...
Yeah, I
was... You're getting bun first. You're not getting patty first. If you're going like this, maybe. But if you're going like this, you're getting bun first.
My initial interpretation is there's no bun, that these burgers maybe were just like resting or something, and she just went full-blown palming to the head
of the meat patties themselves.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with.
Okay, see, because when you say hamburger, I think like fully constructed, like patty, cheese, bun, the whole works, ketchup, mustard, whatever you put on your hamburger.
It's either that or she's amazing when it comes to just brute force.
Either that or she's just got deadly accuracy. Yeah. She's just like winging these like frisbees across the room, and they're just hitting their mark every time, you know?
Yeah.
Man, so it's interesting. Okay, go ahead.
So she was charged with domestic battery, and she was released from the county jail. And the judge has ordered her to have no contact with the victim. So
well, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense.
Yeah, that relationship, I think, is going south.
Yeah, when you resort to food fighting over closing a window, you know that it's probably not a healthy relationship. Yeah.
Really? Just over a window? This is like, that is insane. That is an insane amount of anger to all of a sudden just unleash.
That's why it's never the last act. It's always everything before the act. You know what I mean? Like it like built up to it, and that was just like, for whatever reason, maybe it was the way he closed the window, maybe he closed it too forcefully. That was like the straw that broke the camel's back. She's like, that's it. I can't take it anymore.
Or she's a really big fan of windows.
Maybe. Or maybe the window was like, it was like important that it stayed open, like vitally important that it stayed open.
She is the exact opposite of me, whereas I prefer air conditioning air. She loves outdoor air so much that all windows must be open at all times.
That's what it was. They needed to stay open at all times, and he closed it, and she just lost her mind.
Yep, that was it.
She needed that fresh air.
Yep. So there you go.
Fresh air. I hate the fresh air.
I feel sad for those hamburgers. Those poor hamburgers. They're not supposed to go in the ear.
They're not supposed to go. No, they're not. That's not how you eat hamburgers.
Very, very
Hamburgers
sad.
go in the mouth, not in
Yes.
the ear.
Yes. Very
It's a,
sad to hear.
it's a PSA from the Crispy Noodle.
Yeah.
Hamburgers in the mouth, not in the ear. There you go.
Right.
You could take that one to the bank.
Yep. And there you go. That's the odd news story of the week there for you. All right. So before we wrap it up, Mike, do you have any apocalypse activities to recommend that we haven't talked about yet? Because I know actually we kind of referenced a couple during the whole show.
Yeah, we already referenced a couple, and I'm running out of apocalypse activities because like there's just nothing to do anymore.
Okay, fair enough.
No, I mean that sounds terrible, but no, it's just I've been playing a lot of video games. I've been watching a lot of TV. I talked about you. I talked about Control. I know it's sort of like worn out its welcome now, but Animal Crossing is still very much a thing with a lot of people. I'm trying to think what else I've been doing. I've been buying stuff on Kickstarter. It's gotten to that point where I'm just. Do you go on Kickstarter?
No, not really.
No, it's fantastic. I like buying board games on Kickstarter.
Yeah, very good.
So if you're really bored, browse Kickstarter and buy some board games.
All right, fair enough.
No, you know what? I do have an activity. I haven't tried it yet, but I saw this. Escape rooms are doing virtual escape rooms now, where you can play online with people.
Do they create like a program, or how does that work?
I don't know how it works, but the one that I got the email from has one of the rooms available for free that people can test out, you know, to obviously convince them to like buy another virtual escape room. So I was going to give that a shot. Also, I realized I do have stuff to talk about. Have you ever heard of this? This is interesting for the whole social distancing thing. Have you heard of the Google extension 27?
No.
So it's this cool little extension that allows you to video chat with a group of people and simultaneously watch a streaming service at the same time that's synced up between all the users. And it's really intuitive. It's actually very flexible. You can resize all the windows of the people you're talking with and the video that you're watching, and it perfectly syncs up the audio and the video. And it supports Netflix, Amazon, HBO. I think you need to support them on Patreon to get Hulu and Disney Plus. But because my girlfriend is away for work in Tennessee, we've been using this program to watch like Netflix and Amazon together. The only caveat is you both need subscriptions to these services. So you both have to have a Netflix, or you both have to have an Amazon or HBO account, whatever it may be. But if you want to get together a group of people to watch a movie, do like a virtual movie night, it makes it really easy to sync everything up and video chat at the same time. So that's an apocalypse activity. There you go.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
I would just like to remind everyone that if you have a PlayStation 4, Battlefront 2 is free right now. So yeah, so that's what I've been doing. I've been playing Battlefront 2. It's pretty fun. I'm glad that the space battles are back. They're a whole lot of fun. I think it is a little weird that they don't have like era locks. So like for example, like the first thing I did was I want to do the Hoth mission. I love that opening fight with in Empire Strikes Back on the snow planet of Hoth. And I'm playing the battle as the Empire because I want to ride the AT-ATs.
Of course.
And randomly, all of a sudden, Darth Maul entered the game, and I'm like,
yes.
Oh, yeah, but like, this is not your era. Like, shoo, go away. What are you doing here?
But Rich, it's about smashing up the very best of all the eras together.
There should be an option.
I guess there should be an option, but it reminds me of when I was a kid. We used to have this weird game in grade school, a very creative title called the Be Anything You Want to Be game. And we would pretend like somebody would pretend to be Sonic and somebody would pretend to be Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. You would just mash up all your favorite genres together. You know, you'd run around the schoolyard. I was Spider-Man and somebody else was Super Mario and somebody else was, it was chaos. That's what Battlefront 2 is. It's Darth Maul and, Rey and all these different eras together,
Yeah. I just wish there was like an option to turn that off. I that threw me for a loop. I was like, what is he doing here?
What is he doing here?
Yeah, like, go away. But I got something else now that you reminded me.
Okay.
So this isn't an apocalypse. I'm done. We're done with apocalypse activities. We're done. And now we're just in pure overtime because we got to start wrapping this up.
Okay.
But something that totally just dawned on me was
Right.
Mortal Kombat.
Right. What about it?
Have you followed the last couple of games for Mortal Kombat? I know you were kind of a big fan of Mortal Kombat,
I was a
right?
big fan back in the Sega Genesis days, but
Yeah.
I haven't played a Mortal Kombat recently. But I think I know where you're going with this. They throw a lot of like pop culture characters in there now, don't they?
Yeah, which I like that. I like that part too. I like the fact, you can have Terminator versus RoboCop. That's amazing. I love that.
That is ridiculous.
But
Do they have fatalities?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And it fits too because they're both cyborgs and everything like that. So that fits. So yeah, you can do that. But I'm going to get to something else here.
Okay.
I'm old.
Yes, you are.
I am old, and I've hit the point where I realized I am now old.
Rich, did you get your ass handed to you by a 10-year-old in Mortal Kombat?
Probably. But no, that's not it.
Okay.
It has dawned on me.
Okay.
And think about this with your own favorite video game franchises that have lasted a while. The video game characters are now having kids.
Oh my God.
Think about, yeah, right?
You're right.
The thing that just caught me for a loop while I was like researching Mortal Kombat is in the last two games, Johnny Cage and Sonya have a kid, and she has, but it's not just like that's it. She actually has like her own storyline at this point. Like she has her own established history, her own set of moves, her own finisher, everything. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm this old.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like finding out like one of your friends from high school all of a sudden has like 5 kids, and you're like, oh my God, what?
Yeah, except in this case, it's fake video game characters. But yes,
yeah,
I do remember that. Yeah, they have a kid now. Yeah, some of the characters have kids, and it's bizarre.
Yeah. But it's not just like it's not like it's
not just a throwaway thing. Yeah. It's like actually part of the.
Yeah, she's a part of the lore now. She has her own like motivations, her own intentions, her own end game.
Can you fight as the daughter?
Yes.
Against the parents, then.
You can, because there's a loophole in Mortal Kombat 11 that happens that has to do with time.
Oh. Wait, have you played Mortal Kombat 11?
I've been.
Or are you just following it?
I've been following it, yeah, because I don't really want to. I know I'm getting to the point where I just want to hear the story. I don't want to like get in the nitty gritty with all the fighting. It's a lot of buttons you got to remember how to do and stuff.
It is a lot of buttons. You know what? I've found certain genres as I've aged appeal to me less and less. Fighting games appeal to me less and less because I want like an actual story. So fighting games, sports games. You know what actually really appeals to me now are like simulation games, because I want to create, this fantasy life. that's better than reality, Like I could build my own little Sim City and my own little Sim house and grow my little farm in Stardew Valley and make my own island in Animal Crossing. I just want to like escape, pure escapism. Make my own world and escape to it.
Boy, do we sound pathetic.
Yes, we do. We sound old.
And on that note, thank you for listening to the Crispy Noodle Podcast, the Crispy Compact Communiqué version of it. If you somehow made it through all the way this and you don't think we're pathetic, thank you for supporting us. And if you like to follow us, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. You follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And yeah, you're subscribed to us on the podcast feed because we're on all of them. Mike, what are we on? We're on like every single one.
We're on iTunes. We're on Spotify, Google Podcast, Stitcher. Yeah, make sure you download, subscribe. Download and subscribe to the Crispy Noodle Podcast. You get the latest episodes downloaded for free every week. If you're not watching the video feed, you get the audio version. We're also on YouTube. We're everywhere. Remember, now that we're doing this format, you can also submit, well, you could always submit questions, but now, you know, that we are hard pressed for content, get those questions in. You know, we can talk about anything and everything.
Yep.
So hit us up on Facebook, on Instagram, Twitter. You can find us individually on Twitter to send in your stories. I'm at Mikey Costanzo, MikeyCostanzo.
And I'm at Rich Liebig, RichLiebig. Find us on the Twitters. Let us know what's happening. And yeah, any questions, send them our way, and we'll talk about it on the following week's episode. But for right now, I think it's time to end this. Yeah, we went way too long. We went into overtime. So,
you know, we originally started these being compact, and they've slowly, just like when we first started the podcast, like, it's going to be an hour, and then it ballooned and ballooned and ballooned, and then when we started these, they're going to be half an hour, and then they ballooned and they ballooned and they ballooned.
Yeah, a lot to talk about.
To the madness.
Yeah, there was a lot to talk about.
There was.
Yeah, we'll try and do better next week. Try and keep it to a more sustainable podcast.
Yeah.
But for right now, it's time to wrap it up. I'm Rich Liebig.
I'm Michael Costanzo.
And this is the Crispy Noodle Podcast. Let us be the Crispy Noodle in your vegetarian salad of life and boring news. That'll do it. We'll see you guys next week.
See you guys.
Later. Bye-bye.